Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in London, Ollie Barrett. Hi, Ollie.
Hello, Tanvi. It's 12:30 across Central Europe. Coming up in the next half hour, diplomatic efforts in West Asia, a report from Ukraine on the conflict with Russia, and the European Union's latest position on Chinese EVs. First, the headlines.
India and Malaysia elevate their ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Both sides ink pacts on recruitment, Ayurveda, and tourism promotion, among others. India-Japan hold 2+2 Ministerial Dialogue. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for a stronger partnership with Japan. And US Secretary of State Antony Blinken meets Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Al-Ain for further momentum on the Gaza ceasefire, as the deal still looks elusive. European Union slashes planned tariff on Tesla's China-made electric vehicles to 9%. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim is on a visit to India and met Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday. Both leaders held bilateral meetings to discuss further engagement across various domains of partnership and explored new areas of collaboration. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports.
India and Malaysia ties are at a new high as both nations elevate their relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership. This visit marks a significant milestone in enhancing the strategic partnership between India and Malaysia, focusing on boosting trade, investment and regional cooperation.
Semiconductor, fintech, रक्षा उद्योग, AI और क्वांटम में हमें आपसी सहयोग बढ़ाना चाहिए। हमने भारत और मलेशिया के बीच कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन एग्रीमेंट के रिव्यू में गति लाने पर बल दिया है। डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी में सहयोग के लिए डिजिटल काउंसिल की स्थापना करने का और स्टार्टअप अलायंस बनाने का निर्णय लिया है। भारत के यूपीआई और मलेशिया के पे नेट को जोड़ने के लिए भी काम किया जाएगा।
Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar held bilateral talks with Indian counterpart Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
भारत आसियान सेंट्रलिटी को प्राथमिकता देता है। हम सहमत हैं कि भारत और आसियान के बीच एफटीए की समीक्षा को समयबद्ध तरीके से पूरा करना चाहिए। 2025 में मलेशिया की सफल आसियान अध्यक्षता के लिए भारत पूरा समर्थन देगा।
The discussions span a broad range of global and regional topics.
We have agreed to enhance further and make it a comprehensive strategic partnership. Yes, Malaysia and India from the days of Jawaharlal Nehru and Tunku Abdul Rahman has established good relations. But we realize under our generation that this must be further strengthened in a multitude of areas.
Several key MOUs were signed during this visit, further solidifying the relationship. These include an MOU on the recruitment, employment and repatriation of workers, a memorandum on cooperation in the field of Ayurveda and traditional medicine, an agreement on digital technologies, collaboration, a program of cooperation in culture, arts and heritage, an MOU on tourism cooperation, a partnership between the youth and sports ministries of both countries, an agreement on public administration and governance reforms, a cooperation pact between the International Financial Services Authority of India and Malaysia's Labuan Financial Services Authority. Additionally, the 9th India-Malaysia CEO Forum convened on August 19, showcasing vibrant business ties and identifying new opportunities for collaboration. The visit underscores the historical, cultural and economic linkages between India and Malaysia and is expected to lay the foundation for deeper multi-sectoral cooperation, further strengthening the strategic partnership and paving the way for a prosperous future for both countries. Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
Earlier, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim was accorded a ceremonial welcome at India's presidential palace, the Rashtrapati Bhavan. This is the first visit of Prime Minister Ibrahim to India as Malaysia's Prime Minister. The visit will give a boost to India-Malaysia enhanced strategic partnership. Malaysia is a key pillar of India's Act East policy and a valued partner in the region. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim arrived in India on Monday on a 3-day state visit at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And following the ceremonial reception, the visiting Prime Minister of Malaysia proceeded to the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial at the Rajghat Memorial Complex to lay a wreath. Ibrahim also signed the visitors' book at the memorial dedicated to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. The visiting Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim called on India's President Draupadi Murmu at India's presidential palace, the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. Ibrahim held talks with India's President Draupadi Murmu to strengthen their historical and socio-cultural linkages. Malaysian Prime Minister is on a state visit to India. So speaking on the ongoing visit of the Malaysian Prime Minister to India, Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs of India, Jaideep Majumdar emphasized the importance of Malaysian Prime Minister's visit as the two nations will complete a decade of strategic relations next year.
The first visit of Prime Minister Ibrahim to India as Prime Minister, and it assumes significance. Firstly, because it is his first visit as Prime Minister since he took over in end of 2022. Secondly, also the fact that we are nearly approaching 10 years of our enhanced strategic partnership with Malaysia, which was announced when Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji had visited Malaysia in 2015.
And India-Japan 2+2 Ministerial Dialogue is also being held in New Delhi today. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh received his Japanese counterpart Minoru Kihara in the national capital. Japan's Defence Minister will participate in the third India-Japan 2+2 Ministerial Dialogue. He was accorded a ceremonial guard of honour. India's Defence Ministry said that the meeting will further deepen defence cooperation and bring greater depth to the special, strategic and global partnership between the two countries. So, Defence Minister of India Rajnath Singh, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar are currently hosting their counterparts in the India-Japan 2+2 Ministerial Dialogue in New Delhi ahead of the third India-Japan 2+2 Foreign and Defence Ministerial meeting. Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa and Defence Minister Minoru Kihara met with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for stronger Indo-Japan partnership. The leaders reviewed the progress in India-Japan defence and security ties and reaffirmed the important role of their partnership in promoting peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. On to West Asia now. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, on his 9th diplomatic mission to the region, is trying to build momentum on a ceasefire agreement. He's in Egypt now and will head to Qatar afterwards. My colleague Ollie Barrett is in London. He gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, a deal acceptable to all still remains elusive?
Indeed so, Tanvi. As you were saying, top US diplomat Antony Blinken visiting Egypt on Tuesday to discuss that potential ceasefire for Gaza following Israel's acceptance of a US proposal. Blinken held talks with Egypt's President Sisi and is expected to meet Qatar's Emir in Doha to attempt to broker a ceasefire for the conflict. Egypt's President Sisi is urging an immediate end to the Gaza conflict, warning that further escalation could lead to regional expansion with unimaginable consequences. Both Israel and Hamas have indicated that reaching an agreement for a ceasefire will be difficult. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister's office has confirmed the bodies of 6 hostages from Gaza's Khan Yunis have been retrieved as negotiations continue to bring back more than 100 who remain in the besieged enclave. The bodies of the hostages were found overnight in southern Gaza. The families of the deceased have been informed. The Hostages Families Forum, an organisation that represents many hostage families, is calling on the government to seal a hostage deal with Hamas. And DD India's Sarah Coates is joining me live now from Tel Aviv. Sarah, where do we stand right now on the prospects for a ceasefire deal?
Hello there, Ollie. Well, it's certainly proving to be extremely difficult. Hope is really fading. Of course, despite this massive push by the United States, which is why US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is making yet another crisis tour of the Middle East. Now, you did just mention he is in Egypt right now. He's just met with the President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. He'll next travel to Doha to meet with these key negotiators there and, of course, the Qatari Emir. Now, Hebrew media is reporting just over the last couple of minutes, Ollie, that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has been quoted as saying that Israel will not withdraw from the Philadelphia or Netzarim axis in any way. This is both the area that separates Gaza and Egypt and also this strip of land that separates the north and the south of Gaza, saying that despite the intense pressure, these are strategic, military and political assets. Now, this, of course, has been one of the major sticking points of this deal as to who should control the Philadelphia corridor. We do understand that the Egyptians have said that Israel should absolutely not be in control of this. So certainly a long way to go. And we do have a recent statement also coming out from Hamas that says that the recent agreement presented goes against what was agreed in July. So certainly not much hope on the ground for this ceasefire, this hostage release deal. And this is really being seen as crucial, Ollie, to bring down tensions in other parts of the Middle East. We do need to remember, of course, these threats from both Hezbollah and from Iran on the back of these assassinations of 2 very senior members of both Hezbollah and Hamas, with Hezbollah and Iran vowing to retaliate against Israel. So certainly a very tense time here in the region. And there was a lot of hope that a ceasefire may come into play to bring down the tensions, but seems very elusive at this hour.
Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv. Thank you. Well, as Sarah was saying, tensions between Israel and Hezbollah continue to simmer. Israel's released footage of its military targeting Hezbollah's military infrastructure across Lebanon, including a recent strike on an arms depot in the Bekaa Valley. Multiple weapons storage sites were also hit in the same area. Israel also reported neutralizing a Hezbollah operative responsible for rocket and missile operations in southern Lebanon and conducting airstrikes against another Hezbollah cell in Taibi. Next to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and in an overnight retaliatory attack by Moscow, 9 regions in the center, north and south of Ukraine were targeted. Ukrainian forces on Tuesday shot down 3 missiles and 25 drones. Addressing diplomats, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky highlighted recent achievements by his forces.
Ukrainian warriors continue the defensive operation in designated areas of the Kursk region. As of today, our forces control more than 1,250 square kilometers of enemy territory and 92 settlements. We continue to strengthen our positions, stabilize designated areas, and what is very important, replenish the exchange fund for Ukraine. Overall, this operation has become our largest investment in the process of liberating Ukrainian men and women from Russian captivity. We have already captured the largest number of Russian prisoners in a single operation, and this is a significant result, and this is one of our goals, and our actions continue.
However, Russian forces have claimed control over New York in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine. Russia's also released a video showing the aftermath of destruction in the Kursk region. A number of Ukrainian military vehicles are seen destroyed. And DD India's Dasha Chernyshova has more from Moscow.
The Russian Defense Ministry says Russian armed forces have taken control of one of the largest settlements of the Donetsk agglomeration and a strategically important logistics hub of Novgorodsk, also known as New York, in the Donetsk People's Republic. This is set to allow the Russian troops to develop an offensive to the north towards Donetsk, a fortified area of the Ukrainian armed forces. Meanwhile, Ukraine's incursion of Russia's Kursk region entered its third week. Russian military continue to release videos of how they are destroying the Ukrainian military on the Russian soil. Officials in Russia say Ukrainian troops move their most combat-ready units from the front line to the Kursk direction. The process of evacuation is ongoing, and more people have been relocated from the border districts of the Kursk and Belgrade regions. Health authorities said 17 people were killed in the Kursk region and 140 got injured as a result of the Ukrainian attack. The Ministry of Defense also said that it destroyed 2 Ukrainian drones over Crimea overnight. Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
Divers have been scouring the wreck of a luxury yacht off Sicily's coast on Tuesday to try and find 6 people still missing, including British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch and a Morgan Stanley executive. It follows an intense storm that sank the vessel on Monday. The British flag Bayesian was carrying 22 people and anchored off the port of Porticello when it was hit by the storm. 15 people escaped before it capsized, including Lynch's wife Angela Baccares and a 1-year-old girl. The body of one person who had died was swiftly recovered. Specialist divers did reach the ship on Monday at a depth of around 50 meters, though the operation is complex due to numerous obstacles and the narrowness of access passages. The European Commission has cut a proposed tariff on imports of Tesla cars built in China, while broadly maintaining other planned punitive duties it set out in July on Chinese-made electric vehicles. In the highest-profile European Union probe of alleged Chinese subsidies, the Commission has issued draft definitive findings of its anti-subsidy investigation, which have provoked threats of retaliation from Beijing. It has set a new reduced rate of 9% for Tesla, lower than the 20.8% it had indicated in July. The EU executive says it still believes Chinese EV production has benefited from extensive subsidies and proposed final duties of up to 36.3%. So still a standoff really between Beijing and Brussels when it comes to EVs. Tanvi, back to you.
Thank you, Ollie. Ollie Barrett joining us all from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. US President Joe Biden delivers a farewell speech at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, says, "Give you my best, America," passes the torch to Kamala Harris. And Australia-Indonesia seal treaty-level defence pact, allowing their militaries to operate from each other's nations. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I'm Tanvi Taneja. On to America now. US President Joe Biden on Monday delivered his farewell speech at the opening night of the 2024 Democratic National Convention. In his hour-long speech, he attacked the Republican candidate Donald Trump for inciting violence.
Donald Trump promised infrastructure week, every week for 4 years, and he never built a damn thing. But now, because of what Kamala I've done, remember we were told we couldn't get it done. Remember when we came into office, we couldn't get anything passed? But right now, we're giving America an infrastructure decade, not week.
Biden backed Kamala Harris and called nominating her as the best decision made by him. Praising Harris, he termed her the future of America.
Selecting Kamala was the very first decision I made when I became our nominee. And it was the best decision I made my whole career. We've not only gotten to know each other, we've become close friends. She's tough, she's experienced, and she has enormous integrity, enormous integrity. Her story represents the best American story. And like many of our best presidents, she was also vice president. That's a joke. But she'll be a president our children can look up to. She'll be a president respected by world leaders because she already is. She'll be a president we can all be proud of. And she will be a historic president who puts her stamp on America's future.
So in an emotional address amid standing ovation by his party colleagues gathered from all corners of the country, the US president passed the torch to his deputy Kamala Harris and said that Trump will see the power of a woman.
I love my country more, and we need to preserve our democracy. In 2024, we need you to vote. We need you to keep the Senate. We need you to win back the House of Representatives. And above all, we need you to beat Donald Trump. And elect Kamala and Tim President and Vice President of the United States of America.
Making a surprise appearance at the Democratic National Convention, Kamala Harris said that November election will allow people to come together and move forward with optimism, hope and faith.
November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward. With optimism, hope, and faith, so guided by our love of country, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Let us fight for the ideals we hold dear, and let us always remember, when we fight, we win.
So it's a 4-day Democratic convention in Chicago, and many star speakers are lined up to speak on the dais. Moving on to Asia now, Australia and Indonesia have signed a treaty-level defence pact which allows Australian and Indonesian militaries to operate from each other's countries. In a joint press conference in Canberra with Indonesia, President-elect Prabowo Subianto Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that the deal will be a vital plank for our two countries to support each other's security, which is vital to both countries, but also to the stability of the region that they share.
Our strong defence cooperation by deepening dialogue, strengthening interoperability and enhancing practical arrangements. It will be a vital plank for our two countries to support each other's security, which is vital to both countries, but also to the stability of the region that we share.
And next we take a look at other stories making news around the world. South Korean fighter jets took off the skies on Tuesday as part of the annual joint military exercise with the United States. The drills include new training scenarios focused on countering North Korea's nuclear capabilities and defending against cyber threats. Passengers face delays and cancellations at the new Chitose airport in Japan's northern island of Hokkaido after a shop near the boarding gate misplaced a pair of scissors. Security checkpoints were closed for 2 hours, affecting 36 flights and delaying 201 others. The scissors were eventually found the next day, allowing the flights to resume. Curious case of scissors there. That's all for this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for news on the go. So we will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.